You wake up each day expecting kindness like it's owed to you simply because you exist. You stumble through life waiting for some shift to happen, but the only thing shifting is your patience, slipping away bit by bit. Let's get real. No one owes you affection. No one owes you loyalty. Not your friends, not your family, not that person who barely responds to your messages. Just because you were sincere doesn't mean they're obligated to stay. Just because you showed up doesn't mean they have to value you. That's not how reality works. The world isn't soft, and you right now. You're unarmored, easy prey. If you want to make it, if you want to rise above, then sharpen yourself. Bite through the silence they buried you in. Take that pain and build. Learn how to smile through the sting, because the truth is, most people would rather you stay broken. They want you stuck, quiet, defeated, just like when they left. You think heartbreak makes you unique. You think betrayal was crafted specially for you. No, that was your initiation. That's the price of entry into life. And here's the truth, it won't stop. More lies, more fake smiles, more cheers when you stumble. But your goal isn't to avoid the flames. It's to step through them and walk out forged in steel. They mocked your dreams because they were too afraid to dream big themselves. They ridiculed your silence because they knew it held strength. They called you weak for choosing peace and unstable when you finally reacted. That's how the game works, and if you think kindness alone will win it, you've already lost. Understand this, you are not damaged. You're not the gossip whispered behind your back. You're not the disappointment they tried to make you believe. You are simply exhausted, tired of explaining your heart to people who never cared to understand it. Tired of giving and giving to those who only take. Tired of hoping someone will change, that they'll see your worth, that they'll choose to stay. They won't, and the more you wait for that apology or recognition, the more control you give them. So stop, let the silence speak for you, let your growth make the noise, let your relentless work be your revenge. They labeled you sensitive like it was an insult. What they didn't realize is that people who feel deeply also rise fiercely. Pain becomes your blade, rejection becomes your drive, and when you learn to channel that fire inward instead of outward, when you stop burning for people who never deserved your flame, you become a force. A quiet, terrifying force. If you want to be respected, then stop running after people. Stop giving out explanations. Stop waiting for permission to shine. Just be who you are quietly, powerfully, without apology. You don't owe anyone a reaction, not your ex who moved on too fast, not the friends who vanished, not the family who doubted you. Let them wonder. Let them scroll your timeline while pretending they don't miss you. Let them hear your name in rooms they thought you'd never enter. That's your real revenge, not words but undeniable success. You gave away pieces of yourself like gifts, thinking that love alone could convince them to stay. You sacrificed hoping they'd see your value, but they didn't, and they won't, because some people can't recognize gold. They're used to gravel. They chase thrills, not depth, noise, not presence. You were too much for their empty spaces, too bright for their dim world. So they left, or worse, they lingered just long enough to drain you and disappear the moment your light faded. And you let them over and over, because you still hold on to the hope that there's goodness in everyone. But some people are poison dressed as warmth. Some don't want love, they want control. And if you keep giving them your heart, they'll crush it again, then blame you for bleeding. You think being a good person shields you. That being loyal gets loyalty in return. Time to wake up. This world doesn't revolve around fairness. It thrives on power, silence, and letting go. If you want to stop getting hurt, then stop announcing your plans to people who only listen so they can exploit them. Stop fixing people who don't want to be fixed. Stop offering light to those who hide in shadows. There's strength in walking away. There's clarity in being misunderstood. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your distance. You don't have to justify your disappearance. They'll say you're cold. Fine. Warmth is a gift you only offer to those who have earned it. Let them talk, let them twist your story, let them gossip. While they do, you build. You rise, you work when no one claps, you thrive when no one believes. And when you finally arrive, don't say a word. Let them feel it. Let them feel the void you left. Let their regret echo in the silence you used to fill. Your real issue: you hand out too many second chances. You excuse the disrespect because you're afraid to be alone. You accept the bare minimum because you think it's better than nothing. You water relationships that have already died, hoping something beautiful might still bloom. And you call that love, but it's not love, it's self-abandonment. You tell yourself they care because they said "I miss you" once at 2 a.m. because they came back briefly just to disappear again. That's not affection, it's manipulation cloaked in sentiment. And the more you play along, the deeper you sink. Stop saying you're fine when you're breaking. Stop pretending their absence doesn't hurt, it does. Every ignored message, every missed call, every half effort, it chips away at you. And here's the brutal truth they'll never admit. They know exactly what they're doing. They know you'll forgive. They know you'll stay, and they'll keep using you until you're empty. You don't need to change who you are. Just be more selective with who gets access to you. Loyalty isn't staying. It's who stays when it's difficult. If they only show up when it's easy, they're not loyal. They're opportunistic. You want peace? Then let silence be your ally. Let solitude make you sharp. People fear what they don't understand, and silence forces them to hear their own noise. Be that calm storm. Be that presence that needs no explanation. That's real strength. You don't need to respond. You don't need to defend your worth to people who ignored it when you were giving them everything. Let them wonder. Let them feel the emptiness. And when they come back, don't answer, not out of pettiness, but because you've outgrown the space they once occupied. You've been shrinking yourself to make others comfortable. You've dulled your shine to keep from intimidating people who were never built to stand in your light. Enough! You weren't made to blend in. You were made to stand out, even if it rattles the ones who don't understand you. Your light exposes their shadows. Your silence reveals their chaos. That's why they pull away, not because you lack value, but because your presence reminds them of everything they aren't. So stay focused, stay relentless. Let their noise fade into the background, and when they say you've changed, smile. That's the goal. Change so much that the old version of you is unrecognizable. Growth should make people uncomfortable. Healing will leave people behind, and success, it should be silent. Let your habits be your voice. Let your routine speak volumes. You don't need to prove anything. Just move quietly, strategically, and when you arrive, when they see what you've become, let it hit them without a word. You keep hoping they'll realize your worth. That someday they'll finally understand what they lost. But here's the truth nobody wants to say. Most people don't regret losing you because they never valued you in the first place. They didn't ignore you by mistake. They chose to because they saw your worth, and it scared them. You offered consistency, they returned confusion. You gave loyalty, they gave you doubt. You stayed in storms they caused, and they left the moment things got rough for you. That's not love, that's convenience, and you weren't born to be someone's easy option. Yes, they'll remember you always, but not when you begged, not when you cried, not when you waited. They'll remember when you stopped showing up. When your silence became too loud to ignore, that's when the panic starts. That's when they scroll through your photos, wondering how they let you go. But don't return, because the second you do, they'll destroy everything you rebuilt. Let them sit with your absence. Let them feel what they lost. And when they come knocking, tell them this: you can't play with fire and act shocked when it doesn't keep you warm the second time around. They took your kindness for weakness, your silence for permission, your patience for surrender, and you allowed it because you were afraid to be alone. But solitude isn't punishment, it's power. It's the space where you remember what you deserve. In the quiet, you'll find answers. You'll recall all the times you betrayed yourself to keep someone else happy, the nights you didn't sleep while they rested easy, the tears you wiped alone, the love you gave that never came back. Use all of it, not to stay bitter but to grow wiser, the ultimate win. Disappear, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. Pull back without warning, without closure. Stop replying, stop explaining. Don't give them the satisfaction of knowing it hurt. The real victory isn't in showing how broken you were, it's in showing how unbreakable you've become. Heal in silence, build in silence, win in silence, and when you rise, let your presence be the echo of everything they lost. People loved the broken version of you. It made them feel better about their own lack. But once you began to rebuild, they felt threatened. That's not your fault. Your strength is a curse to the shallow. Your heart confuses those who can't comprehend depth. Your loyalty terrifies those who only know how to take. So stop offering yourself to people who don't value truth. Protect your energy. Choose your peace. Build something bigger than them, because in the end, no one's coming to rescue you. Not the ones who said they never would leave. Not the ones who promised forever. Just you. You versus every trial that tried to silence you. And that's enough. You've already survived more than they know. Every scar, every quiet battle, every tear. That's proof. Proof that you're still here, that you're not done, that you're just getting started. So stand, rise, move forward, because when you stop needing them, that's when they start needing you. And have you ever noticed they always remember you? Only when it's too late. They always return when it's convenient. When they're bored, lonely, or in need of a temporary ego boost. They show up with small talk, forced grins, and hollow apologies, hoping to slide back into the space they once walked away from. And the heartbreaking part, you used to let them. You used to mistake their return for redemption. But coming back doesn't equal remorse. It simply means they noticed your light shining again and thought they could feed off your energy once more. But not this time. That door is closed. You're not a sanctuary for emotionally unavailable souls. You're not a backup plan for those who tossed you aside without hesitation. You're not a safe space for people who carry nothing but coldness in their hearts. Let them feel the chill of the silence they created. It took years, but you've learned. Self-respect means choosing yourself even when it hurts, even when love is still present, even when you miss them deeply. Because if loving them costs you your identity, that's not love, that's self-neglect. And you've already sacrificed enough. You've dimmed your own light too often just to let others shine. You've held your breath to maintain peace in spaces that were already burning. You've bitten your tongue until it bled just to avoid making them uncomfortable with your truth. But that ends now. True strength doesn't come from being liked. It comes from not needing to be. It's in walking away without drama, in standing so firm in your identity that their rejection, their silence, their betrayal no longer shake your foundation. They only confirm what your intuition always knew. You're not too much, you're not overanalyzing, you're not difficult, you're simply awake now, you're finally recognizing the pattern. You've come to understand that real love doesn't require you to betray yourself to keep someone else comfortable. There was a time when you blamed yourself for everything. You thought maybe if you were quieter, stronger, less emotional, less intense, less honest, maybe then they'd stay, respect you, love you properly. But the truth is, they were never prepared for the version of you that stopped begging. They weren't ready for the you that no longer needed their approval, that started healing without their help. You gave everything. They still wanted more. You gave truth, they chose lies. You gave your presence, they treated it like an afterthought. But one day they'll scroll past your success quietly. They'll watch you rise from the background and remember the times you reached out, cared, checked in. They'll remember when your heart belonged to them, and how they mistook that for weakness. Regret won't hit them when they lose you. It'll hit when they realize they were never necessary for your success. Let them sit with that silence, let it echo, because nothing haunts more than breaking someone who was sent to help you heal. From now on, speak less, move wiser, protect your peace like it's all you've got. Don't let guilt force you into shrinking. Don't let them twist your clarity into selfishness. Your standards aren't too high. They're just not willing to meet them. You're not hard to love. They're just unwilling to love deeply. You're not cold. You're just done melting for people who only leave you in pieces, and if they mistake your silence for bitterness, so be it. If they see your growth as distance, let them. You're not here to be understood by those who gain from your confusion. You're here to evolve so completely that they begin to doubt every version of you they thought they knew. There's a certain power that comes when you stop playing the role they were comfortable with, the version of you who said yes when you meant no, who laughed things off even when they hurt, who answered every call, stayed every time, even when everything inside you was screaming to go. That version of you was easy to manipulate, easy to predict. That's the version they loved, not because it was authentic, but because it was easy to control. But now you're different. Now your silence says more than your apologies ever did. And that unsettles them. They don't know how to deal with the version of you that picks peace over proving a point, that chooses solitude over chasing, that prefers discipline over drama, that terrifies them because they know they can't reach you anymore. You're not emotionless, you're not heartless, you're not cold, you're done. Done with begging to be seen, done explaining your worth, done showing up for people who treat your love like it's replaceable. You haven't changed, you've awakened, you've realized that people only value what they fear losing, and the second you became too available, too forgiving, too understanding, they stopped trying. So now you've chosen to be unavailable, unreachable, untouchable. They'll call it ego, they'll call it pride, but they won't call it what it truly is: self-respect. The world doesn't applaud the broken who keep bleeding. It only notices once scars turn into strength. Nobody cares about your pain unless you turn it into something they can admire. So stop expecting empathy. Stop looking for closure from people who sleep peacefully after destroying you. You owe yourself more than that. You owe yourself the kind of love that doesn't require you to shrink, the kind of peace that doesn't need chaos to be appreciated. You owe yourself growth so powerful your past becomes unrecognizable. And the truth is, they never deserved access to your healing. They had their chance when you were broken, open, vulnerable. They had their shot when you just needed someone to show up, but they chose distance. They chose silence. They chose someone else. Don't reward that with the privilege of witnessing your transformation. Don't let them back in after they watched you drown without reaching out. Let them wonder. Let them scroll. Let them remember who you were, but never let them know who you've become. You're building now, not out of revenge, but survival. You're focused, not out of anger, but because peace finally speaks louder than pain. You're quiet not because you lack words, but because not everyone deserves to hear your voice. That's the true beauty of healing. It makes you more dangerous than your pain ever could. Now you don't react, you move with intention. You don't speak quickly, you observe, you don't wait for closure. You walk away before they even notice you're gone. Let them twist the story, let them play the victim in a narrative they wrote. It's not your job to convince anyone of your worth. Your job is to guard your peace, protect your power, and build your empire like your soul depends on it. Because it does. You sacrificed to earn that silence. You bled for that peace. No one, no matter how familiar, gets to steal that from you again. There comes a moment, subtle, quiet, where something inside of you shifts, not from rage or sadness, but stillness. It's the moment you stop caring about how they interpret your absence. When you stop explaining, stop defending, stop answering. You disappear, not physically, but spiritually, emotionally, mentally. You pull back like the tide, and eventually they feel it, not at first. At first they think it's a phase, but when days become weeks and the silence lingers, they start hearing truths they tried to ignore. That they took you for granted, that they misjudged the depth of your silence, that they assumed you needed them more than they needed you, but now you've become their greatest fear, a person who found peace without them, who stopped chasing, who no longer flinches at the sound of their name. You became a ghost with presence, and that terrifies them because they built their pride on the assumption that you'd always come back. But you changed. You chose healing over hoping, clarity over chaos, yourself over everything, and now they're stuck watching the rise of the person they tried to break. People think silence means weakness, that if you're not yelling, you must not care. But silence is the loudest voice there is. It holds all the words you wanted to say but knew wouldn't be heard. It carries the weight of every lie, every betrayal, every moment you said, "I'm fine," when you were far from it. When you stop showing up, stop responding, stop trying, that silence becomes a mirror, and mirrors are uncomfortable. They reflect the truth, and that's why they come back, not for love, but to escape themselves. You spent so long looking for closure, for answers, for apologies, but closure isn't something they give. It's something you claim. You claim it when you stop deciphering mixed signals and start reading actions. You claim it when you realize confusion is a choice, because someone who wants to be in your life will never leave you unsure. You're not bitter, just done wasting sweetness on people who spit it out. You're not cold, just tired of burning for those who never brought a flame. If they say you've changed, good, that was the goal. You weren't made to remain soft in a world that devours softness. You were made to grow, not harder but wiser. Not numb but solid. Wisdom is knowing when to stop knocking on closed doors, when to stop investing in people who see your worth only in your absence, when to stop excusing those who never tried to understand you. Now, you live for your peace, your purpose, your goals. You no longer chase, you attract, and anything that costs your peace, it's too expensive. They won't understand that. Let them call you distant, cold, arrogant. Let them write their stories, but those who understand real peace, they'll see it in your eyes, feel it in your presence, recognize it in your stillness. This isn't pride, it's freedom. They called you crazy for reacting, for finally speaking up, for breaking your silence. But they never tell the part where they pushed you there, where they chipped away at your soul, silently, repeatedly, until you had nothing left to give. And when you finally rose, when you walked different, talked different, demanded more, they labeled it an attitude. But that wasn't attitude, that was awakening. That was the rebirth of a version they can no longer manipulate. They never saw the private battles, the nights spent wondering if you were the problem, the way you silenced your own needs to keep them close. You gave too much of yourself away, but not anymore. That version of you, the one that tolerated, that waited, that hoped is gone. In its place is someone powerful, someone who knows their worth, someone who walks alone not out of fear but freedom. Now, your presence speaks volumes, your absence says everything. You became the lesson they'll never admit they needed. You became a ghost not by vanishing, but by rising. Now they sit in the spaces you once lit up, wondering why it all feels colder, heavier, lonelier. It's because you left, and you took your peace with you. Let them try to replace what they lost. Let them search for your energy in meaningless conversations and shallow connections. Let them realize too late that what you gave was rare. Because people always assume you'll stay, that no matter how they treat you, you'll always be there. You always forgave, always reached out, always gave the benefit of the doubt. But the thing about constantly forgiving someone who never changes is, you eventually do. You learn that staying isn't loyalty, it's self-destruction. So you chose yourself. Don't apologize for that. Don't feel guilty for reclaiming your heart. They didn't care when it was shattered. They only noticed when you stopped handing them the pieces. You're not cruel, you're not heartless, you're not bitter, you're healed, and healing doesn't always look like smiling. Sometimes it looks like boundaries, like silence, like leaving late messages unread, like no longer explaining your worth to people who never listened. Healing looks like growth, and growth is messy, painful, often misunderstood, but keep going because they're watching to see if you'll come back. Watching to see if you'll fold, watching to see if you still care, so give them a show they'll never forget. Give them silence that screams, give them the glow-up they can't ignore, not for revenge, but to remind them they held gold and chose dust.